Now, to help us break down this trade dispute between the two superpowers and how it could affect Korea, we have with us Professor Shin Sang-hyup from Kyung Hee University. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, let's start with the Bank of Korea's report, which our reporter just mentioned just now. If I look at here, it said that the short-term influence of the trade dispute between U.S. and China will be minimal, but if it is prolonged, the damage to the Korean economy could be bigger. Now, do you agree with this? And, what are the possible damages if the dispute does go on?
Well, I think I do fully agree with this analysis because, as we know very well, USA imposed the 25% tariffs on 1,333 items imported from China. Actually, the export was worth of the $50 billion one. And in response to the measures taken by the USA, China also took some retaliatory action. They announced that they would impose 25% tariffs on the 106 items of the American items. So certainly the trade war seems to be in progress. And if this situation prolonged, well, definitely, according to the Bank of Korea, at the moment, on a short-term basis, the negative impacts on the South Korean economy caused by the trade war between USA and China could be very minimal. But if the situation prolonged, I think the damages could be more serious because this time, out of total, the items of products imposed by both sides, the USA and China imposed 25% tariffs. Not many Korean items were included. That means that directly or indirectly, we could get the negative impact, but it could not be very serious. But if the situation goes on, then that means then USA and China could impose more tariffs on more items of products. Then the South Korean main exporting items could be included on those kind of the items. That means we could gain more serious damages on our exports. Considering the importance of the China and USA as major trading partners, definitely when they impose the more tariffs on more items of products, subsequently the Korean items could be included on those items. And certainly there could be a more serious negative impacts on the Korean economy. And the second one is then they could increase the tariff rates. At the moment, they impose the 25% tariff rates on the imported items from each other. Then they could increase the tariff rates. As we know very well, very recently, the USA even considered imposing 75% tariffs on imported steel products from China and aluminum products, something like that. So definitely there could be some possibility of increasing tariff rates on each other. That could be also negative factors on the Korean economy as well.
You're saying they are potentially factors, but for now, it seems right now that an all-out trade war isn't yet on the cards.
No.
But is there a possibility that there could be an all-out trade war? What do you reckon?
I think there must be a possibility, but of course, we have a very valuable lessons from World War II. Before outbreak of the World War II, we did not have the GATT or WTO. That means that the countries around the world did not have any chance to share their opinions about our economic situations and the economic policies of member countries took. But after the World War II, many countries, led by, particularly with the strong initiatives of USA, they decided to establish the GATT, right now the WTO. Why they have, what kind of role the WTO has? That means that they get it together. If any member country goes too far, so because of that, if they break down the world trading system, definitely the other countries try to do something to prevent them from doing such a kind of things. Of course, the China and USA are the big economies in the world, so it could not be very easy for other countries to change their policies. But I think because of the lessons we got from the World War II, definitely other countries will not sit idle. They will do something, and then the USA and China will face some heavy pressures from the global community. And then secondly, practically, if they continue to take this stance, it could not be good for their own national economies. So definitely, I think the possibility exists. Possibility of the trade war between two countries exists. But I think there are more possibility that these two countries stop these kind of policies, which can hurt each other's economy and then hurt the global economy, I think.
Well, the fact that you say don't think it's likely does sound encouraging, but the fact that you talk about World War II is perhaps a little worrying.
Because that, if I had some more explanation, when we did not have the GATT system, which dealt with the global trade issues, at the time, because of the devaluation policy taken by the many countries in Europe, at the time Europe was center of the global economy, or because of the competitive devaluation policy, there was inflation. Inflation resulted in the deadlock of international trade. So out of sight, out of mind, So under such a kind of situation, if something happened, they did not have any way to resolve those kind of problems. Because of this, the lesson which the global community got from the global economy, they established the GATT system. That means that we did not want to repeat the same mistakes. So definitely the USA and China, well, they put the first priority on the national interests, but they could not avoid such a kind of some invisible and huge pressure from the global community.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, let me bring it back to South Korea for now. So, of course, all this is happening while South Korea and the US are in the middle of renegotiations over their free trade agreement. Now, there still seem to be renegotiating, but there are different comments coming out from the Blue House and the White House. The President Moon Jae-in is saying that a deal has been reached, but President Trump is saying that negotiations are still ongoing, that they're close, but they're still ongoing. What do you make of the two differing statements?
Well, there could be several interpretations we can make, but if I tell you two interpretations which many experts agreed on. First one is that in the coming November there will be a midterm election in the United States. And then Mr. Trump, actually, he has taken so-called American First policy. And he said that he said he has done everything to keep the American national interests. Well, definitely by asking some more things to Korea, that means the negotiation is going on to have the, revise the Korea-USA FTA. Definitely, he could exaggerate more his efforts and his government devotion to keep the American national interests. And the second one is definitely, I think as we discussed before, USA has contacted with China because to reduce the huge trade deficit in the trade with China, and to maximize the effects in the trade negotiation with China. USA seems to need the support from other trading partners. In this context, Korea could be one of the very important trading partners for USA to take the advantages in the negotiation with China to adjust the trade relations between two countries.
Before we go, let me just talk about one point that I mentioned earlier. Trump has thrown into the mix in these negotiations that he will hold up negotiations on the agreement until a deal is made with North Korea. I think that it's a very strong card to negotiate with South Korea. There hasn't been that much mention of it since, but could Trump really tie up the FTA negotiations with the North Korea summits?
Who knows, but I think as I already explained, strategically, well, the USA seems to use the renegotiation for Korea-US FTA well, by using the North Korean card. Because, as we know very well, there has been some slight differences on the stance toward the summit meeting with the North Korea between USA government and Korean government. If I tell you more details about it, the Korean government seems to put the first priority on the peaceful or dialogue with North Korea to solve the North Korean nuclear crisis issues. How about the USA? USA government has put more priorities on the so-called the denuclearization of North Korea as a kind of some prerequisite for the successful summit meeting between USA and the North Korean leaders. So by having this stance regarding the renegotiation for Korea-US FTA, maybe USA could change the South Republic of Korea's stance on the summit meeting with the North Korea to some degree. So by having changing this, the Korean government, particularly President Moon's the policy or stance toward the summit meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, which is similar to the American the stance. They want to increase the possibility of the successful outcomes at the summit meeting between USA President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, I think.
Well, thank you. I mean, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. But thank you for coming in, Professor Shin, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us. And
my pleasure.
You can come in again.
My pleasure.